Hello, class. I just wanted to provide you with a brief supplement to the page that you're looking at right now for the question, issue, and reason thesis. What this comes down to is a set of tools that I would like you to have in your toolbox as you're writing your papers. Please note, with regard to my own philosophy with writing, I don't think there's any one absolute correct way to approach a paper. It's always about versatility. You're going to be coming to a bunch of different tasks in this class, and indeed in all of your classes in your career at Citrus College or elsewhere, that are going to ask you to do different things. So I want you to have a wide range of tools and tools that are versatile that allows you to address all these different tasks that you have to do in writing. So that's what the question and issue and reason thesis really come down to. Now, as we walk through this, I want you to read the entire page. I just want to highlight a couple things in this video. So first off, the questions at issue, these different quote-unquote stasis questions, as I call them. Actually, this all comes from my pedagogy at the University of Oregon, where I got my PhD. But these are just types of questions. So when you are given a task in one of your classes, the idea is that you can break down that task in writing to being an answer to one of these questions. So say you're in a government class and they're asking you something about dealing with the issue in Syria, the terrible war that's occurring there at this moment. So what should our policy be towards that issue right now? That might be a sort of question that you would get in a paper, poli-sci class, what have you. Those sorts of things. So with all of these, they're just types of questions. Now, with regard to the thesis, I want you to know that this is the central point of all of your papers. It is one area where it's something you absolutely have to have in these sort of writing assignments that you're doing, these analytical, argumentative papers that you're writing in this class. So ultimately, you always make a claim in all of your papers. That claim is going to guide your papers. And in terms of placement, you do need to be careful. Please put it at the end of the intro paragraph. That is the standard placement for argumentative papers and scholarly writing in general. It's not the end-all be-all. There are times where you don't put it there, for instance, but it's something that is in general where you put it. So I want you to know where it's supposed to go, and then in other classes, if you feel like branching out and your professors are okay with that, that's fine, you can do so, but I need to see that you can do it in this format to make sure that you have that skill and you're prepared for moving on into other classes and transferring out of Citrus, for instance. Now, with regard to the 5-paragraph essay, which I reference in this page and in this lesson, what I want you to think about, and I choose here the Ghost of William Henry Harrison because we have a claim here, we should vote for it. Didn't want to get into politics, but so I thought I'd pick a long dead president to use as an example here. We can come up with 3 different reasons in the 5-paragraph essay, and as you know, this is the general structure. Well, many of you will know this is the general structure of a 5-paragraph essay. We have an intro paragraph, we have 3 paragraphs with 3 different reasons and a concluding paragraph. Not a bad structure, quite frankly. It works quite often. I mention it because it's taught often in high school classes, but there's some structural problems with it. So what if one reason is more important or complex than others? So you have one paragraph that's super long and the others are short. What if your reasons don't have a lot to do with each other? They feel like 3 different arguments instead of one cohesive argument. And you will be having to write longer papers than 5 paragraphs in this class. So it's important that you have a tool by which to use that you can write longer works. So just in general, if you are the sort of writer who defaults to this 5-paragraph structure, that's okay as you're drafting, but I do challenge you to step out of that mold. Try to look at your reasons in those 3 paragraphs. Is one of them a reason that is more powerful than the other? So for instance, just talking politics for a second here, outside of our own political moment, but William Henry Harrison, why should we vote for him? Well, we could have a reason like he knows what to do about healthcare and health insurance issues in this country. Great. That is a really complex argument, though. That could be one paragraph, or it could be the entire paper. An additional one could be foreign policy. He has a good foreign policy. That could be its own paper as well. So when you look at this sort of 5-paragraph essay structure, look at those paragraphs and see how you can expand them. I should note that in a lot of my examples, I use not literature. I use examples that are more general because I want these skill sets that you're using in this class to be transferable to your other classes. But the same principle holds when we're looking at literature as well. Now, briefly in terms of structure, I want to make sure that we have the structure down. You always need to make a claim in your papers. You need that assertion. Now I'm going to say Barcelona should win the Champions League. That's going to be my assertion for the coming examples. You're going to pair that with a reason. So because they have the best players of any team is going to be my reason for this claim. Now, this is the basic structure. Claim because reason, or reason therefore claim. You can flip them if you like. Now, that is a tried and true structure. It's pretty powerful. It can do compositions of pretty much any length. It could be 5 paragraphs, or it could be 298 pages, which was my doctoral dissertation. So it's a powerful structure, and it works. Now, what you're always going to need is a claim. I won't always require you to have a reason stated in your thesis statement in the paper itself. I may ask you what your reason is, but I know stylistically you might just work better with a claim there instead of the because clause and that sentence structure. So stylistically, I'm going to give you some room with that, but argumentatively, I'm always going to ask you for your reason to be present. Now, a couple other things that I would like you to have down. So one of the things that you need to look at when you're testing a thesis and when you have your reason there along with your claim is that they should be connected by a shared term. In this case, we have Barcelona should win the Champions League because they, this pronoun references back to Barcelona, the team. Additionally, the assertion and reason should be independent clauses. You can make them into their own sentences. A few other tests that you can run on it. There's a burden of proof. This is a phrase that I might use in my comments on your paper. So burden of proof and unstated assumption. The burden of proof is what you need to prove with your statement in your thesis statement. The unstated assumption is a test to run. So let's run through this real fast. Barcelona should win the Champions League because it has the best players in the team. What do you need to prove to make sure this is true? In this instance, what it would be is proof that Barcelona really does have the best players of any other team. Additionally, the unstated assumption asks you to look a little bit closer at your thesis statement and try to find the elements that your readers may or may not agree with, and you want them to agree with it, though. So what general truth or premise does the author assume he or she and the audience will agree with in order to make this thesis valid? Well, something along these lines. Teams that have the best players should win the Champions League. Now, that's a statement that seems to stand to reason. However, maybe not. You could have an audience member who's had experience on a team with great players who says, well, they were all egos. None of them would work well together. So they didn't work as a cohesive unit. They didn't win championships because the egos were just too big. So finally, one last thing I'd like to leave you with is this slide that just gives you some tips for evaluation. Some of this is in the page as you go through it. A couple of them are just things you might keep in mind as you're working through it.